I haven't been back to church since in any capacity. I had joined like this church community here in New York, like the peak of COVID. A lot of people were getting sick, a lot of people were dying. And it was just very important that we cared for people in a very particular way, right? Like, staying home, making sure you're healthy, not getting other people sick. And I knew a lot of these people who just didn't care for that. They were just like, oh, who cares? And you would think a church community or a group of people who always talk about caring for others wouldn't have that mindset, but a lot of those folks did. It was really harmful. It was really shitty. It really hurt me a lot. And I remember calling it out and saying like, hey, you can't just be approaching how you operate and go outside and just not care. If you get other people sick, if you hurt other people. It's funny, I said it in like a church group chat and that chat like blew up. I got kicked out the group chat for saying that. They felt like because they were like a church community, we're so greater than everything else, we won't get sick. And if we get sick, it was God's choice for us to get sick, but we'll be fine. It's kind of like a crazy mindset to have. And they didn't like that I called it out. I think the fact that I mentioned it and just went against, I guess, the mold, the grain, rubbed a lot of, I would say, like, church leaders wrong, challenging their beliefs or their ideas of like what they should be allowed to do and not to do.
How did this experience impact you?
There are times I feel a little hesitant when I build new communities of people. Like I said, this was a community I had spent years being part of. Like I love these people. I think there were seasons in which they loved me too, as a person, as a church member, as someone they could consider family. And then just to have it like vanish or disappear or go away, that's very detrimental to think that people who are very intimate or like close to you can just up and go at any moment.
What do you think God would say about this?
I feel like it would just be like a quiet head nod. It's really shaken my relationship with church. It's just a shame, right? It's really broken me apart from people.
Did it shake your belief in God?
Part of me wants to say yes. I mean, I feel like I haven't visited that specific question or thought, and part of me is really scared to revisit it.
You just did with me.
I did with you. I think the fear is being heard, being listened to. If people I've grown close to couldn't even stop to make me feel heard or listened to, or if anyone should have done that, should have been the people I've been in community with. Even if they disagreed with me, why didn't they go about it in a different approach? Like we were people who would fellowship together. We would see each other multiple times during the week for years, yet you were willing to ostracize me and throw me away in a moment.
If you could ask Jesus, what would he say about this to you?
Are you going to let the actions of other people dictate our relationship? My distance from church is because of how I felt other people have treated me or engaged with me, right? But that's not how Jesus has treated me. That's not how...
Do you think Jesus can empathize with you?
Of course. A man who was treated like dirt on the ground, mocked openly, ostracized maybe too.
His disciples at the very end.
Those are some of your closest people, right? And even they, can deny you, can push you aside, right? So perhaps there's also like forgiveness for those people who did that to me.
Why are they worthy of that?
I mean, if we're getting biblical, God deemed everyone worthy of forgiveness by his hand, right? I remember when the disciples went with Jesus on the boat to get on the water and they were just like, come meet me over here. But I love the fact that in that story, Jesus was like, Peter, come get on the water. Peter stood in that water for a couple seconds, got a little scared, then fell in, but he got on that water, he stepped on. And yeah, he fell in after, but Jesus came and met him where he was. So I think I like to approach situations and issues with that in mind. Meeting people where they're at, even if things get a little shaky after, you can at least come to a meeting point and see what can happen there. Yeah.